It sounds like a bunch of Boba Fett fans are about to get their wet dream of seeing the return of Boba Fett in season 2 of The Mandalorian. At least that's what the Hollywood Reporter is saying. But I'm not so sure, so maybe you ought to hold off on those parties, all you Boba Fett fans. What's up, y'all? My name is Prince, and I'm an urban acolyte. So, what was it, yesterday, a few days ago, I can't remember, the Hollywood Reporter broke this story that Temeura Morrison is going to be in The Mandalorian season 2, and he will have a small part as Boba Fett. Now, the last time we saw Temeura Morrison as a Mandalorian bounty hunter was in the Attack of the Clones, when he played Jango Fett, who was the host of all of the clones. And of course, he had one unaltered clone created who would be his son, Boba Fett. Boba Fett would go on to become arguably the most notorious or the greatest bounty hunter during the time of the Dark Times and the Galactic Rebellion. So the rise of the Empire, the reign of the Empire, and the Galactic Rebellion, before he eventually met his alleged demise in Return of the Jedi, there in the Sarlacc pit on Tatooine. Now, I know in Legends that Boba Fett survived the Sarlacc pit. Somehow he managed to cut himself out, and he goes on to have a bunch of adventures. But what is canon is that the Sarlacc monster, the sandworm, died shortly after the events on Tatooine that we saw in Return of the Jedi, and a bunch of stuff got ejected all over the Dune Sea or wherever they are, whatever part of Tatooine that is, I don't quite remember, right? So what we learn in the Aftermath novel, the first one by Chuck Wendig, is that there was some familiar Mandalorian armor that was found by a citizen of Tatooine. He donned the armor and basically became the Lone Ranger, right? He's this lawman, and he's gonna correct all the wrongs in Tatooine, and he's gonna get rid of all the scum and villainy there on Tatooine, right? He's gonna clean things up. So according to this article in the Hollywood Reporter, Boba Fett is alive and he will make his return. They're saying that the person, the mysterious figure that we saw at the end of the Gunslinger episode with Fennec Shand was Boba Fett. Now, I don't remember if I talked about that in my review of that video, but I don't believe that's Boba Fett. I don't really have a lot of faith in the people who write these articles for Star Wars stuff. You know, you got this huge disconnect. There's this guy who appears to be running around in Boba Fett's armor. At least that's how I interpreted what Chuck Wendig wrote in the Aftermath series. And Chuck Wendig kind of said something on Twitter that kind of left the impression on me that he's not really a fan of this possible return of Boba Fett. So we'll have to wait and see. The big question mark for me, right, is that Boba Fett is an unaltered clone, meaning he doesn't age at an accelerated rate, right? Now, it makes sense that Temeura Morrison would be playing the character at this point in time, and not Daniel, who played, young Boba Fett, and all the young clones look like him, but he's not old enough. I don't think he's tall enough to play an adult Boba, even though he could totally do it as long as he doesn't take off the helmet. He could pull it off, right? I know he's been hanging out with Ray Park a lot, training and learning to do some stuff in the event that he does get a call back, from Star Wars to portray that character, on the live action screen, whether the big screen or the small one. We'll have to wait and see, right? I would love to see both of them back, actually, to play the character of Boba Fett. I mean, once he puts on the helmet, once he puts on the armor, who knows, right? Because, even in The Mandalorian, Lateef Crowder sometimes is playing, Din Djarin. under the armor, and I mean that's a black South American dude, you know, with long dreads who's doing capoeira, right? So anybody can be under the armor, but I feel like, well, with the technology they can de-age Temeura, but I feel like unless you're bringing in some technology to de-age him, to make him look the appropriate age that Boba Fett would be, it would make more sense for him to be a clone, right? If Ahsoka Tano is possibly coming back, this is 3 years after the events in Return of the Jedi. We've seen Ahsoka after the events in Return of the Jedi on Rebels during the little epilogue, right? What is Captain Rex doing? Captain Rex, we know, was around. They've retconned him into the Battle of Endor, right? So Rex is there. Temeura Morrison is around that age, and then again, all the clones are, you know, Temeura Morrison's likeness, his image. It just makes sense to me that he would appear as a clone. Now, I'm not saying that, you know, no, he shouldn't be Boba Fett. I don't want to see Boba Fett. Or I'm hating, right? And I've said this in my social media posts that I'm happy that Temeura Morrison is back in Star Wars. I would love him to have a huge involvement in Star Wars. I'm not a Boba Fett fan, and I mean, as far as I'm concerned, Boba Fett in the Sarlacc pit, the end, right? Boba Fett hadn't done anything exciting to me. I mean, took out Cad Bane, but that's about it. If they're gonna do some kind of flashback, some kind of like this is maybe we find out who that character is, the lawmaker. He has a name, but I didn't research this before I started filming. I'm kind of flowing off the dome, which means I don't really do any heavy research. I just kind of read something and talk about it on camera. If that person or somebody that had a history with Boba Fett were to talk about him, we see that short flashback, and you have Temeura Morrison playing an adult Boba Fett, and they, you know, de-age him through the use of technology. That's really the only way that I would, for me personally, that's the only way I'd want to see Boba Fett. That's just me. As far as I'm concerned, the ongoing story of Boba Fett ended the minute they decided to do The Mandalorian, right? The minute they decided to introduce this new Mandalorian bounty hunter and give him this story, right? And all the resources from the Boba Fett movie went into this that we're seeing on Disney Plus, that everybody loves. It is arguably the best thing to happen to Star Wars since Disney took over. That I'm just repeating. That's what a lot of you have said. On some level, I've enjoyed everything. I'm not gonna say that I love it, that it has no flaws, because some of y'all hear that when I say, oh, I like The Rise of Skywalker. That's not me saying The Rise of Skywalker doesn't have flaws, it doesn't have issues, right? I could do 10 videos on things that I don't like about The Rise of Skywalker. Maybe I will when I have time, or maybe I have to put that off until we move and I have my studio where I can sit down and write, edit, and film videos the way I'd like to. Like I said, I've enjoyed it all, but I think out of everything that I've enjoyed, The Mandalorian, I've had the least amount of issues with The Mandalorian, right? I'll just leave it at that. But what would they do with a Boba Fett movie or series that would top what they're doing with this, right? Because if you cover Boba Fett, it's probably going to be a time period that's already passed. I'm ready for Noose, even though, well, technically on the timeline we passed this too, but this could be setting up another timeline, another well, there's going to be other spin-offs from Boba Fett, so we could find out, you know, what's going on in other parts of the galaxy, other places, the same way Star Wars Resistance did, and eventually took us into The Rise of Skywalker. Because even though I haven't finished watching Resistance, Kaz, all of them, they do appear at the end. They do show up in the Rise of Skywalker at the end when all the ships show up. So I was right. I said that Kaz was going to be in the Rise of Skywalker, and he was. Just not how I imagined. But hey, it happened. It happened. So I don't know. I know you Boba Fett fans. Oh yeah, Boba's back. He's back. He survived. He lived. Suck it, you guys. I don't know. For me, I feel like Boba Fett been there, done that. Give us a flashback and let's see Captain Rex. Let's see some of the other clones who are still alive and active, and maybe they'll have a big adventure if Ahsoka's getting some kind of spin-off series, or I don't know, maybe they do something with the clones who survived. I don't know, but we'll just have to wait and see. I don't know what's going on with Star Wars Celebration. It sounds like San Diego Comic-Con is going to do some kind of in-home Comic-Con thing. So we're just going to have to wait and see how things pan out this summer with the announcement of future projects. And then we'll just have to be patient. I heard the Hollywood is going to be shut down until 2021. They're not going to resume filming anything until, next year. Right, so at this point, just gotta wait, be patient. It's a good time to work on yourself. It's a good time to train. That's what I'm doing. I suggest you do the same. Speaking of training, my friend Ash is doing a free 6-week jumpstart program. It's going to be training and nutrition. Depending on the training thing, I will be your coach. Sort of. I got to put an asterisk there because I won't actually be coaching. I'll be writing the workouts, but this is all Ash's thing. I'm going to be focusing on my martial arts and movement programs that I wanted to do but didn't know how to do. So for like training, nutrition stuff, if you go through Ash, I'll be doing the training, but it's Ash's thing. I hate nutrition coaching. It's just something I've never had an interest in doing. And Ash loves it, and he's more qualified than me. So I'm gonna leave. There's a link if you're interested in, and that's a free thing. It's a free 6-week jumpstart thing, training and nutrition. Ash doesn't have his stuff set up, so I'm just gonna, there's a link. You can fill that out, and I will forward that information over to Ash, and he'll take you from there. If you guys are stuck at home and you need something to do, you want to start working, getting your mind and body right, for the summer. Hopefully things with this situation have cleared up by then. You can take advantage of that. But anyway, that's really all I have to say on this topic. Are you excited for Boba Fett, and do you think he's gonna just be in a flashback, or do you think that Boba Fett's alive and he's gonna have some part in the ongoing story of Din Djarin in season 2 of The Mandalorian? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll be checking back to see what y'all have to say. If you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and click that subscribe button. Take your first steps towards becoming an urban acolyte. Embark on the journey to become the hero of your own story and become a force for change in your community. Continue to support the channel. You can do that by checking out more videos from this channel. And yeah, I would appreciate it. That's all I got for this one. So thanks for watching. Y'all keep on breathing. May the force of others be with you always.